No Space in the System for Free Will by Greg Huffman. Narrated by McLaughlin. There is no space left in the system for free will. There is no arguing with the executioner not to flip the switch. Even if he's convinced from the argument you shout that you are as innocent as you say, who is he who not pull the switch? He will just be deprived of income if he doesn't play out Milgram's experiment. He will just be replaced by someone who will do the job. So, he might as well play the part, because he hasn't made an immoral choice, but if anyone has, it was the judge. The guards that dragged you to your death, they can't be convinced to let you go. Maybe, possibly, they can be convinced that you are innocent, but they won't be convinced to let you go. Maybe, alone in a forest, with just one of them, you could convince that single guard to let you run free, but not with the system pushing that guard forward. Not if that guard on the left would look like a fool to that guard on the right. Who is he to question the decisions made by the system? What about the man arrested for a victimless crime like possessing marijuana or procuring a prostitute? What can he say to the judge regarding the logic of the situation? Can you argue to the judge what you did has nothing immoral about it? Can you tell him that human laws are sometimes just a result of human error? Can you reason with this judge? He isn't a judge that has that kind of freedom. He only verifies whether the action was committed or not, but he isn't the judge of whether we should or should not punish those that take that action or not. He must not deviate from the legislator. Even if he agrees that the law is inane, he must follow the rules. There is no room for independent judgment. An injustice must be committed in the fairness of consistency. Just look at the state of marijuana right now in the United States. What happens when a police officer pulls you over and finds weed in your possession? Do you think you can appeal to his logic? Do you think you can ask the officer why he will arrest you in your state, but not in Washington or Colorado? Do you think he will even pass judgment on those laws? Or rather, what I suspect is that he will say, the law is the law, as if that is a better argument than, my whims are my whims, that the criminal would use. The officer either has no judgment of his own, or he thinks that the masses or the elite that can choose to deprive man of his rights have more objective value than his own opinion. But wait. The majority of American citizens are now saying that they think pot should be legalized, and it looks like the legislature might be leaning that way heading into the future. Do you think the officer will heed that argument? Good luck, my friend. And what about the people that pass the laws? The people that are told what the ethical is, and the legislators that say they are only being told by their people what laws to make? Who are people to decide what the moral is? They have their friends to tell them what that is. Who are their friends to question what the moral is? They have the Bible to get their morals from. They have tradition to tell them what has always been done. Who are they to break from it? They don't analyse their morals. They don't think them through. They just have them memorised, always with a label handy whenever they see it, ready to put down his or her judgment, the one that was printed out for him or her. It is our duty to follow the edicts that have been passed down. It is our duty. It is the duty of the policeman to arrest the criminal, whether it was just or not. He doesn't have time to make independent judgments. He has a job to do, and his job involves taking rights away from men. One man can threaten a system perpetrator with a gun, and that man will respond, "Why bother? You will be arrested, and another will just come and take my place." The man who catches his woman in bed with another man, his first judgment is, cheater. His first thought is, injustice. He becomes indignant. He attacks the man and abandons the woman. But what was the only immoral action committed by the woman and the man? The woman, at worst, was dishonest and broke a contractual agreement. The man was an accessory to the breaking of a contract. What was the sacrosanct contractual agreement? Well, for the most part, it is assumed. This contract isn't in writing, so people just accept it implicitly, almost across the board. The rule is, I'm the only man that is allowed to give you pleasure, and you are the only woman allowed to give me pleasure. The evil of cheating is that it involved one person making another person happy. Why is this regarded as a bad thing? Tradition. The carrying on of human weakness as a virtue. And do we ever have those mavericks that break from the force field carrying them around through the motions? What happens to those that step out of formation or drop their baton after throwing it up in the air, even if they didn't ask to be involved in the parade march? When the sign says, no shirt, no shoes, no service, it is the classless fool who doesn't follow the rules. Even when that sign doesn't exist, we mockingly and sarcastically call the person we see a class act. We say that person has no dignity. We use that meretricious title for the people who refuse to give up their free will to the system. We tell sex workers that they have no dignity and that they should be working for minimum wage at McDonald's instead. We tell certain women that they are being immodest and lacking respect for their body, even though the accepted fashion trends have been heading the way of showing more skin. But they think they have found the Aristotelian balance when these same people who judge those women also say that a woman who holds to the old style is a prude. Apparently modesty isn't a static virtue. And is it the woman who isn't ashamed of her body that is disrespecting it by refusing to hide it like a shameful thing? And who is it that is following fashion styles, and why? So, you think that lone nut has beaten the system, have you? But that wasn't one of the options. You're either imprisoned into the system or by the system. You're either locked into following the code or locked away for not following it. Everyone has agreed that they can't beat the system, so they might as well join it. They are the reasonable men George Bernard Shaw told us about. There is that show called Orange is the New Black, and those really are your choices for the suits you may choose. The role of the criminal or the role of the black business suit. The guy that everyone assumes is a loon without listening to his opinions, or the guy that assumes everyone is a liar, tiptoeing over broken glass for political correctness, avoiding lawsuits, keeping his sponsors and his stockholders happy. Both are prisoners. We tell the man who has an opinion to shut his mouth because it will create a disturbance. Never speak about politics or religion. It causes people to think, to express passionate opinions. Never did they realize how true it was, the saying about opinions being like assholes. If you don't have an opinion, you are full of shit. You are full of bullshit. You regurgitate only the advice of dignified dead white men because their opinions, due to the catalyst of time, became petrified into facts. Facts, people seem to think, are just opinions that have been fossilized by time. Or maybe I should state it the opposite way. The people think that opinions that haven't been challenged for centuries have earned their place as accepted fact. If you dance when you aren't supposed to, you're a crazy man. Supposed by who, you ask? By everyone, you are told. Everyone else knows the right thing to do, except the insane man. He's the eccentric. We aren't religious anymore, but we still find it rude if someone doesn't say bless you when you sneeze. Why is it the proper response? Because we have become conditioned. We are Pavlovian dogs of morality. We only feel injustice. We can't logic it out. The woman who was cheated on doesn't have time for your sophistry. Her friends will find it insulting. Her friends will tell her she's been fucked over. Friends know best. They know how to keep the dog properly salivating when it should. The practical is slow to learn from the theoretical. Even the few of us that can logically justify actions we have always regarded as immoral, some of us still can't overcome our conditioning. Some of us acknowledge our human weakness, but are still affected by the weakness. It's interesting how a group manages to combine the worst aspects of the id along with the worst aspects of the superego, the rash impulse to burn someone as a witch, and the defense mechanism that's cautious not to play the wrong note at a band march. The dictatorship of truth is being outvoted and overthrown by the democracy of whim. Edition, 9th of June 2014. In 1984, it was Big Brother in the form of government keeping an eye on your every move, ready to lock you away for the slightest indiscretion. Now in 2014, it is Big Brother in the form of your family, your friends, and your employer monitoring your every move via social media, ready to lock you back in line for any deviation from the proper, the acceptable, the politically correct. Ready to point out your every mistake and having a record of it. Donald Sterling, asshole or not, was a victim of this recently. Penn and Teller proved that Big Brother was easily distracted because they had no investment with the target. However, Big Brother, in the form of those of your closest associates, that is a different matter. They take great pride in watching your every move, for it gives them gossip to share amongst themselves. It adds the flair of the dramatic to their otherwise boring existences.